Welcome to the OneFix YouTube channel. I'm Craig, the Managing Director, and all I can say is like and subscribe because we're going to have some great content coming on how to do things, hints and tips on your PCs, behind the scenes footage, and loads more. So, yep, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and hit the bell.
Right, I think we're live. Morning, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today on LinkedIn Live Power Apps 101 with Solution Shared. And I'm Craig from OneFix, and I'm very pleased to be joined today by John Clark from Solution Shared. Hi, John.
Hi there. Very pleased to be here too.
Fantastic. We've got about half an hour today where we're going to go through some kind of things you need to know about Power Apps. And I'm very pleased that we're joined by John because I have to confess, and I'll put my hand on my heart, that Power Apps are something I don't know a huge amount about. I've had a bit of learning, have had a little bit of a play, but actually it's an area really that is not a speciality for us. So just to introduce Solution Shared, they're sort of a partner that we work with. They're actually in the same office building as us. And essentially, I mean, John, you can explain what you guys do, but you're experts in all sorts of things to do with Power Apps and Dynamics and all that kind of stuff, aren't you? So.
Yeah, I mean, I personally started with Dynamics CRM probably in about 2008. It's changed a lot over the time. And along that journey, Microsoft introduced Power Apps, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Fantastic. Right, I'm going to see if I can, we have a presentation, so I'm going to see if I can pop that up onto the screen. Oh, there we go. Fantastic. I don't know, John, you probably can't see any way to page these forward, so we might have to do kind of a bit of a Chris Whitty, and you can say to me, next slide, please, as and when it's time to move to the next one. So it's going to be a little bit of fun. But do you want to just give us a quick kind of, well, I guess what are Power Apps for the people that are joining us and don't know anything about them at all?
Yeah, so I've got this slide here. So Microsoft got this concept called the Microsoft Power Platform. You might or might not have heard of it. And it's a number of components that they've stuck the word power in front of. So on this slide, there's Power BI, which is about reporting, Power Apps, which is about really making your own custom business applications. Power Automate is about automating within your apps or between your systems and other systems. Power Virtual Agents, which has actually just changed name to Copilot Studio, and Power Pages, which is about making a website. You wouldn't use it as like a marketing website. It's like a functional, customer partner portal. So today I'm going to focus on the Power Apps part in this, but all of these parts work together. So do you want to jump?
Next slide, you. Oh, there we go. That's us. Hello. So for those that don't have our pretty faces, then this is what we look like when we're actually posing for photos, as opposed to being on a webcam. There you go. I'll skip to the next slide quickly. There we go. Right.
Fine. So in general, what are Power Apps? So in the world today, you describe them as a no-code, low-code development platform. What that really means is you can make an application, a business application. It could be small, very large, but most of it is largely built using a drag and drop toolbox that Microsoft provide. Okay. So what that means is you don't have to write software to make your own CRM or your app for a very specific purpose. Obviously, as the system gets larger, more complex, you might need to write some software, particularly if you're going to integrate to third-party systems. But we've got clients that we've never written code for. We've got some that we've written a fair amount for. Now, thanks to Microsoft's marketing department, we have two types of Power App that they call a Power App. So if you were to look at Microsoft's website, most of the information that is there, including things like screenshots, is about the first type, Canvas Power Apps. Whereas in some respects, the more functional ones are model-driven Power Apps. On the next slide, I'll talk a bit more about the difference. So Canvas Power Apps. These tend to be single-purpose apps. So you could have a job to track maybe assets in an office or customer complaints. I often sometimes describe it as like building an app by making a set of PowerPoint slides. So you build the individual screens and then you link them together. Microsoft, from their point of view, they've targeted them really as departmental apps, because in a corporate scenario, you've got all your big back-end systems, but maybe in the department, you need something that just does one job. So when Craig and I were younger, we'd been the guys that built the Microsoft Access database in the corner. This, in some respects, is a modern version of that.
Right. Okay.
But because they're kind of single purpose, they don't have scale. So they'll do that job fine, but you wouldn't run your entire business with one Canvas app. You might have a collection of them.
So they're great for that one application that you need just to do one fantastic thing, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas we find that when we're setting up systems for small, medium-sized businesses, really you don't need a small app to start with. What you need is a business application that spans most of your business, and that's where the second type of apps come in, the model-driven.
Okay.
The one major difference is that with Canvas apps, you've got full control over how it looks. So you can make lots of fancy colors, total control over the layout. What that does mean is they actually take longer to build in terms of what you see on the page. So we have done some for clients, but often as an add-on to the other type, the model-driven app. So if you want to just jump to the next page.
Okay, to the next slide. There we go.
Right. So this is a longer story. So Microsoft obviously has what used to be called Dynamics CRM. These days they call it Dynamics 365 kind of CRM. They sell it to you as a sales app, a customer service app, or a field service app. Now, ever since I started with the CRM platform, we've always added our own custom built bits. So we might add an extra table. If you think of a table as like a spreadsheet, we've always added extra things to fill in the gaps in the product. At some point, I don't know how long ago it was, I'll say 5 years, it's a guess, they came up with the idea of, well, why don't we just take this platform, this toolkit, call it the box of Lego, and we'll let you make your own app. And so really what you've got with model-driven Power Apps is you've got that entire Dynamics CRM platform, but you don't have the pre-built apps. And so you can use it to make very highly flexible, scalable, secure apps. So, you could build an app for a handful of people, and if your company grew rapidly, you could still be using that app for thousands of staff. You might have to bend it and shape it along the way, but what you essentially are getting is the ability to make a business application that can span multiple departments and be integrated with other systems. So it comes with, out the box, they come with lots of platform capabilities, things like, obviously they integrate to Microsoft products. So you've got export to Excel, email templates, Word templates. You can sync your email backwards and forwards. You can create appointments, tasks, activities inside the system that'll sync back to your
kind of all out. That's all out the box. That's something that they're
all out the box.
Drag and drop elements. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other, specific use case things in that platform that we will use in this toolbox, depending on what a customer needs. And that's all just there as part of that CRM platform.
Brilliant. So that has a lot of value then, I guess, out of the box, doesn't it?
Oh, it's massive. I mean, the difference in terms of the scale of what you get compared to the Canvas is very large.
So why don't Microsoft push this one harder?
I guess it's Microsoft's focus is, it's because of their corporate focus. So, typical corporate, you will have maybe a Microsoft partner or an internal IT staff that might be setting up, Dynamics 365 sales, customer service, because they will use a lot of the advanced features that most SMEs don't use. So they'll be doing that. Meanwhile, the people in the department are kind of like, well, we'd like an app of our own. Oh, but IT are too busy. And so it's kind of targeted. In theory, anyone could make their own app. but in reality, making the Canvas app is slightly easier for a non-IT person than the model-driven Power App, just because of the scale of what's available.
Right, I see. Can you convert one to the other?
No, not at all. The one thing about the Canvas apps is they can, in terms of a data store, they can sit on top of Microsoft SharePoint. So SharePoint has a concept called lists. You could use that. You can actually link them to Excel spreadsheets, but we would actually advise linking them to what Microsoft call the Dataverse, which is the same database that lives under the CRM platform. And that's what gives you a lot of those extra platform capabilities. It's kind of baked into the database. So you get lots of security and scalability.
In the background.
Yeah.
Do you get that within your license, or is that a kind of, do you have to host a separate, like Microsoft Azure instance to run that Dataverse part?
I mean, that's all part of the license, and that's one of the great things about it. You get a full enterprise scale database that Microsoft back up for you. It just sits there. You're given drag and drop tools to create tables, add fields, change forms, build your solution, and they just look after it.
Right. So it really is Microsoft Access for the modern world in that point of view. Then.
It is, and in reality, once it's up, once you've built a system, if you don't go and change things, it doesn't really break. I mean, we find that when we do support, most of what we're doing is applying small changes for clients as they move forward. And that's one of the strengths of particularly the model-driven, is that it's very quick to, I need some extra fields for this. Can we capture some other data? We can do that really quickly.
Okay, so you kind of scale up time, and actually the cost for a client who's working with you for those kind of extra changes is minimized versus if you were building something completely out of the box from scratch with coded up from nothing kind of thing. So.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, once you've obviously the biggest challenge for us is that a lot of people aren't sure what they want to start with, so it's doing a lot of business analysis workshops to work out what to create in the first place. And we do tend to do we make part of it, show it to you, get your feedback, and go. You would call it perhaps an agile style of working until we get to the final delivered thing. Thereafter, adding small changes. We just do a bundled support thing that includes ongoing changes. It's easier just to send a ticket into my team and say, can you add 10 extra fields and stick them here, there, and there, than it is to ask me to quote it.
Fair enough. There you go. That just proves how quick it is, doesn't it, from that point of view? So.
Yeah, I mean, my team, they do it day in, day out. It's simple for them.
Obviously.
We do have we've got a few clients, particularly some of my older ones, who do some of the simple changes themselves, but they've learned over the years, where to stop and pass it over to us.
And I guess that's the challenge, isn't it? When you're dealing with this kind of low code, no code sort of stuff, you have people that maybe try and find a creative way to do something, or they hit a wall or something. So I guess at that point, it's knowing when to just say, hands up, I've done what I can, and I'll get the experts in.
Yeah, I mean, we pick up, systems that were set up by someone else now and again. They were maybe set up by an IT company a number of years ago. Someone in-house tried to play with it for a while. By the time it gets to us, it's a bit of a rescue project.
Well, I guess that brings me on to a point, actually, and it was a question I kind of had, and probably goes slightly off slide topic, but I mean, on that basis, what do you have? Is that, I guess that, to me, that sounds like it is a kind of a risk of potentially Power Apps where you have the kind of, I mean, I think they used to call it the citizen developer, didn't they? The person in the company that does a load of dev work and then goes and finds another job. And actually, nobody really knows what they've written, and it's not very well documented, and it kind of just all works in the background, and then suddenly it doesn't work. Do you ever get that as a thing? And have you got ways that you can help with those kind of problems when people hit those?
We get that when we inherit systems that have been set up by one or many people in the past. Fortunately, because it's a toolbox, anything made via the toolbox, we can see the configuration. Right. Now, obviously, because we do it day in, day out, we understand that. But, it can take a bit of time to pick through, work out what's what. And yeah, I mean, some of them are, why on earth did you make it that way?
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So if you want to jump over to the next slide, I think I've got. So this was just really some examples of what you could do with Power Apps. I mean, the key thing really is that you can create a business application, whatever you want to call it, that's tailored to your business needs. So if you need a small thing, you make a small thing. You could ultimately make something that spans your entire business and does everything. So some examples here, if you want to start small, everyone's got business critical spreadsheets. The biggest thing we bump into when we onboard new people is a big pile of spreadsheets. So you could, as a simple exercise, we can turn them into a model-driven Power App. So effectively, you're getting kind of a spreadsheet feel where you've got columns, rows of data, but we can then bring them into a web interface, link them all together. And I guess one thing I should have mentioned is that both types of Power App are accessible via the web browser, tablet, or your phone.
Okay. So versus a spreadsheet, then, I mean, obviously you can do spreadsheets on the phone. They're a real pain in the backside. So this just makes it more accessible, I guess, from the point of view of if you have something that everybody's having to fill in, everybody can collaborate on that and work on it without tripping over themselves on the phones and that kind of stuff. Yeah,
and there's two benefits there, actually. One is the I don't have to go and make a custom app for it to work on the phone or on tablet. So Microsoft, there's an app in the standard app stores, but the layout of the whole application just readjusts itself for the form factor.
So kind of responsive to whatever device you're on, size-wise.
Exactly, responsive. Okay. And the other thing is that, I mean, obviously in Excel you can have multiple people working on an Excel document at the same time. That works so far. But as you add more people,
when it works, it's perfect.
Great idea. Yeah. But in this case, you effectively go into our records. So one row in a spreadsheet, you go into a form for that, and you can put in the data.
Yeah.
It also shows you if someone's in the same form at the same time. But you can have thousands of people editing your spreadsheet at the same time, and it's all really individual records. And we can apply security as to who can see what ones.
Yeah, whereas I would say with Excel and it's kind of built-in sharing, to my mind, once you get over about 4 or 5 people, it really struggles just because of SharePoint in the background trying to track all those changes, and it just falls over. So
exactly, yeah. And then just going down my list of things, you could make, I've called it a bespoke CRM. So I mean, this is often, we do this all the time. Our sales pipeline, whatever that means for you. It might go through leads, opportunities, quotes, orders, etc. We've done lots of different variants of that. We've got a number of construction companies who they do all the marketing outside. They're traditional businesses. They don't do digital marketing. So they will come straight into a quote. But that's kind of a quote for a period of time to deliver some stuff. And then it's all about creating lots of order records and delivery. And from there. So, again, very tailored to what you need. And you can expand that into customer delivery service, integrate it to your finance. This is becoming more popular. In the older days, not so many people want to integrate finance. But I guess now that people have moved to things like Xero Online, some of the Sage products online, we're getting more people that want to do that. That does usually require writing a small amount of software, but it means you could
just
generate
a bit of inspiration, is it, to pull the data back and forth kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah, it means you can create you can go through your cycle of creating orders, generating invoices inside your Power App, and then we can push them across into your finance package.
Yeah, that's cool.
With the Canvas ones, what they're quite good for is creating kind of a branded user-friendly. You could use it on a kiosk app or a floor walker, maybe if you do events.
Okay, so you could use it like a lead capture kind of thing for an event, have it nicely branded up.
And that's where they're very good, because you're only going to have a couple of pages, maybe half a dozen pages in the app, but they're very branded. They look really good.
Oh, cool.
Okay. Something.
And sorry, John, with that, would you kind of just knock one up per, like if you're doing an event and you wanted to capture specific leads, would you just create a Canvas app specifically for that, run it, get all the data, and then close that app down and make another one next time around? Or would you just
you could do? I mean, feasible? What we put that app, probably we put that on top of the Dataverse that someone's model-driven app is sitting on. So you'd have the people in the office that are doing all the rest of the business. All the data is in that Dataverse database, and then you'd effectively just stick an app on top, so that when you fill in an event, it comes straight into the same system.
And then the back office team get the lead, and they can do what they need to do with it. Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
you can copy the apps, so you could make a Canvas app if you wanted. You say you're doing another event, so you might want to brand it slightly. You can copy it and just quickly change some bits of it.
Cool, brilliant.
So yeah, it's quite good. We're doing a more of replacing legacy business apps. Things that worked well in their time, but they've not really changed for many years. So as everyone has been kind of transitioned into, particularly, I guess, the Microsoft ecosystem by companies like yourselves, Craig, there's that old legacy app maybe running a server sitting in the corner. It's time to move it to the cloud. Mm-hmm. So again, with them, it's actually quite nice, because often the customer has an existing setup. So it's about replicating part of that, adding the bits that are missing, solving any issues they've had with it over the years. So it's relatively straightforward.
I guess the other win you get there is, again, thinking about a few people that we look after, where there's, there might be some legacy old Access database and that kind of stuff that have probably been created 15 years ago and been used. Yeah. There's no one that knows how to update them. So actually, they want more functionality, and no one can add that because it's just old legacy stuff, or it's a bit of software written by somebody that's been long out of business. So actually, I can see there's a real benefit to taking that forward and adding those features that you want as well. So
yeah, we're currently in discussion with it's like a property management company. They're not massive, I think like 20 staff, but they've got Microsoft Access system. And the guy that wrote it still works in the company, but he's 75.
Right. So yeah,
there's
a bit of thought to do with how that gets moved, isn't there? And maintaining that.
So,
I guess you can move the data as well, can you?
Yeah, depending on where the data's sitting, we'll usually write some software to move the data. Depends on the volume. If it's quite small, we'll just do Excel exports. The Power Apps platform's got a very good data import tool. But once you get volumes of data and all that data tables link to other tables, it's actually simpler just to write it in a bit of software.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And then mobile apps, field-based staff. So if you've got people, anything out in the field, deliveries, collections, site surveys, consultations, you name it, you can make. Often we'd make maybe a custom form for the people out in the field that has less information on it. We may enable things like barcode scanners, signature blocks, but they can go and capture what they need to do out in the field and submit it, and it's back in the main system. People in the office can see it. We can notify people in the office maybe the data's been submitted. Sometimes we have like an automated process with stages, and so we might even move that record, that delivery, for example, through the stages automatically.
Okay. Well, actually, on that mobile point, I guess that triggers another question in my mind. If you've got mobile workers and let's say Signal's a little bit patchy and they're using the app, is there any kind of caching? Is there something that will then reconnect and kind of push that data up, or do they need to be 100% connected all the time to be able to use the system?
Yes. So model-driven Power Apps and actually Canvas apps now have offline capability. You define what subset of data each person should have offline. That works fairly well. If you're constantly on the move and hitting bad reception, there is an add-on product that we use. Our largest client uses that. They've got, I don't know, maybe 100 delivery and collection people around the country. So some of them are going into like remote parts of Scotland and so that app intelligently captures the data, and as they're heading back down the motorway, spots that they're online and pushes the data back in.
Yeah, cool. Okay, that's pretty smart.
And then one thing at the bottom, one of my favorite, document generation. We do this so many times. I reckon about 75% of clients do this. Once you've got your data in a structured system, we can make templates using Microsoft Word. There's an add-on for Word that we use. It's basically like having mail merge, so that your Word template understands the data format inside the Power App database, And so, we make templates for, NDAs, quotes, orders, invoices, credit
Yeah,
notes,
that's cool.
job
It's kind of like a mail
cards,
merge on
you name it.
steroids then from that point of view, in terms of what you can do.
100%. Yeah. So, we do an awful lot of that. And some clients add e-signature to that. We tend to use Adobe Sign these days, but other ones do work. So we can create like a little automation that might generate the document or multiple documents and then automatically send it out to for e-signature. And so when it gets signed and comes back, it comes back up in the system.
Nice.
And then we can maybe send a
That's a full little
notification
workflow
email.
kind of set up then automatically.
100%.
So.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I can see that someone's asked a question from Ben.
From Ben.
The answer is absolutely yes. So you can easily, that's really just about making a data model. So it's about what information do you want to capture, how do different parts of it relate together, and absolutely yes, that would be made. That in a model-driven app, it's not a massive job. Particularly if you're clear on what you might want to make, often the biggest challenge is working out what should be in it. And even just, a similar thing, we've got our client that does use Dynamics Customer Service, but they want to add an engineer skill matrix, which has got multiple different angles. We're going to add that effectively as a Power App table inside their system. So so even if you do have it, we've got some older clients that have Dynamics CRM because Power Apps didn't exist. We can extend their systems effectively by using Power Apps. So some of their
talk to the same data.
Talk to the same data. So some of their staff that may not need to use the core Microsoft built functionality can be licensed as under a Power Apps.
Fantastic. That's very handy. So thinking about this list that you've put here, then, I guess if people want to go away and they're thinking like, how do I identify something that I can put a Power App in place for? Obviously, this is a great starting point. I'm thinking if I'm going to distill that even down to even simpler terms, I'm thinking about like what I guess maybe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but what processes are we using in a business where we're collecting information on sheets of paper? What are we doing when we're moving paper between people? What are we doing where we're emailing out to people and then gathering responses back? All these kind of things where we're doing manual labor processes, I guess, that we can say, actually, we can smarten this up and create an app to make that happen.
Absolutely, it is all of that. Yes, I would like to say it takes you into the joined up writing of a modern business. Yeah, you can get rid of the paper, get rid of, in some cases, all of the spreadsheets. Everyone's going to have their own pet spreadsheet, but you can bring all that together in one system, and ultimately you could have a system that spans most of your business. We tend to build them small part at a time, so that we're all clear on the focus, so we don't get a bit carried away.
Yep.
And I find that through the process of making, I'll call it phase one, our customers learn how the system works, so they're better informed around what they might want to add on later on.
Yeah. Okay. So it starts that process of thinking, and they go, actually, do you know, it'd be great if it did X or Y, and then you go, we can do that. Okay,
and it makes it just easier for everyone involved.
Sure. So from this is coming from the kind of the IT guy in me. Obviously, when we think about, say, the regular 365 stuff like, let's say SharePoint and email, Microsoft pretty explicitly in their terms say that they do best efforts on backup, which is why, again, we typically provide our clients with kind of SaaS backup, third-party backup. Obviously, that's not the same with Power Apps because that data sits in this database. Who is responsible for that data? How's it backed up? What controls do you have about kind of getting back something if something's been, someone's made a horrible mistake or they've gone and deleted all the data? What does that look like, John?
So where you're storing the data in Dataverse, Microsoft will back up the database for you automatically. They call it continuous backup, and they'll hold a backup for 30 days. Now, the continuous side, I've gone to have a look to do a restore, and there's at least 8 per day or more. So they're backing up on a very regular basis. Because it is a database, a restore means moving back to that whole point in time. So it's all the data.
Lose what you've done to that point.
Yeah, but the system itself is built around the concept of environments. So we would have a development environment, a testing environment, and the live one. So if someone accidentally deletes something in live, we'd actually restore it into a development environment. So and then we'd go in and get the missing data.
Right. Okay. So there's work to do, but you're not looking at
an
absolute disaster at that point.
And the first thing we pretty much do in every project before we go live is we will remove the delete permission from everyone. So the system's got concept of active and inactive records. Mm-hmm. So when you finished a sales opportunity or finished a delivery, you would mark the record as inactive. So it sits there in the background, read only. So in theory, you don't really need to delete everything or anything. So we have not, I think in my entire time since 2008, I've done 2 restores.
Wow. Okay.
Which is
That's
good.
Pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't want to be doing that regularly.
No. One was when it was on a server, and that's painful. I've done one in Dataverse. That was quite straightforward.
And you said about 30 days. I mean, that's obviously more than sufficient for most people. I know that there are some businesses where they really do have some challenges and regulatory challenges where they maybe have to even be able to restore backups up to maybe 7 years, 11 years, something like that. Are there options to extend that with Microsoft? Or
I don't think in the core product, but what you would do is Microsoft provide the tools to allow you to move the data into another database.
Right. Okay.
So you could use cheaper database storage inside Microsoft's Azure cloud environment, and then set up an automatic sync of that data across. And then you can keep that for however long you like.
You can just keep that for as long as you like, and you're just paying the cost of, the storage costs of that, I guess, with Microsoft, aren't you? So that makes sense.
Yeah, but inside Dataverse, that you've got your body of data forever. One of our very early clients has they're an e-commerce customer. He's got all of his orders since about 2010 in the system.
Right. Okay.
And
go down from that. That still works pretty well.
Oh yeah. I mean, the data we've got our biggest client. I think in their sales leads, I don't know, they're over a couple of million by now. The system just because Microsoft look after it scales to accommodate what you put in it.
Nice, I like that. And you don't end up paying more for that. Then that's all within your license still.
You get a base amount of storage when you first set the system up, and then every license you get an addition.
Oh, okay. We do have pooled up kind of for the company. So if you've got
for the company,
yeah. Okay.
Right. We do have some clients that, because of what they store in it, may have to purchase additional storage, but it's only a handful.
Sounds like it's
that one that hasn't thrown away his order since 2010 is one of them.
Yeah, makes sense. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I've switched us onto the last slide on screen just to say, obviously, how to get Power Apps. I mean, obviously, if you're a client of ours, you come and have a chat with me anyway. We can look at the licensing side. I'll still put you in touch with John, to be honest with you, because John is our go-to guy for the actual design and the work on that. We are certainly not the people for that, but it's fantastic I think, to my mind, this is really going to be the big growth area in the next couple of years in terms of the investment Microsoft's putting into Power Platform, the work they're now doing with Copilot, the way all this stuff crosses together. I think it's this whole kind of intelligent automation and Power Automate and all that stuff that rolls together is going to be really where I think we're going to see a big driver growth in the next couple of years over this, just for people wanting to just take the next steps forward in terms of how they make their businesses smarter without, going and buying off-the-shelf pieces of software that don't quite do what they want to do. That's the key.
Yeah. Certainly, there are lots of, even if you just take simple CRM, there's lots of CRM systems out there, but they work the way they were built to work. Whereas with a Power App, you can have a system that works the way you want to work. And it can be changed as you change the way you work.
Perfect. That sounds great. We're pretty much, in fact, we're 4 minutes over time because it was that good. I remember I forgot to do something, John. I forgot to wish you happy birthday. Jess sent me a note and said, it's John's birthday today, so happy birthday, John. I mean, what else would you rather do on your birthday than spend time on a LinkedIn Live?
Couldn't think of anything better, honest. Thank you very much.
Well, I'll tell you what, so seeing as we share the building, if I'll spot you downstairs, I'll buy you a coffee in a bit. How's that?
Oh, that sounds good. Perfect.
There you go. Fantastic. Look, thanks everybody for attending. Ben, thanks for the question. That's brilliant. Hope everybody got some value out of that. John, I certainly did, so thank you. And look forward to seeing everybody soon. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Take care.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.